boys and girls, it's Mrs. Heinhorst, and I found in my personal library a nonfiction book, so a book that's teaching us about something about horses. And before I get started reading that horse book to you guys, I wanted to show you a new kind of chart that I wanted to use after I read this book. So this is called a new chart. This side being all the things I knew already about horses, and this side for all the information I'm going to learn that I didn't already know that's new to me. So two different kinds of two different versions of the word new there. So some things that I already knew about horses. I knew that horses have manes, the long pretty hair that comes off of their necks. Their feet are hooves, and Mrs. Heinhorst actually spelled hooves incorrectly. Just wanted to keep you guys on your toes. I spelled it correctly in the pink. Their feet are hooves. Owners put shoes on hooves, so that horse shoe. You can ride horses bareback or with a saddle, and horses are kept in a stable. So those are some things that I already knew, or at least I think I know, about horses. And today we are going to go ahead and read this book, and then I'm going to fill in this side of the chart, this new information to me. So, the book that we're going to read today is called A Word About Horses. And this book is really cool. It's nonfiction. Like I said, it's teaching us about something. It's teaching us about horses. This little call out, this caption says it includes a pull-out poster in the book. So when we get to the back, because I already previewed the book, I will show you that poster. And the nice thing about this book, the really neat thing that the author did, and the illustrator together, I guess, they put different labels on the front of this book. So that kind of helped me know that it was going to be nonfiction right from the get-go. So it says grooming, hoof, bridle, stirrup, saddle, stable, tack, bit. I wanted to show you the back of this book as well, because the author gave us a little information on the back too. So do you imagine yourself in a rodeo or on the back of a beautiful horse in the circus? Or do you simply like horses and want to learn more about them? This beginner's guide shows you how to groom a horse and tells you what basic equipment you need to ride and take care of a horse. For the more advanced rider, there are tips on jumping. A full-color pull-out poster illustrates the equipment a young rider must have to keep a horse in good condition. A glossary emphasizes important vocabulary. Text feature, glossary, so we'll be on the lookout for that too. And another cool thing that this is a series, so it's a book by the same author, but books about different topics. This is a word about ballet, a word about gymnastics, this one we already have, and a word about soccer. So if you like this author, when I tell you their name, you should go out and maybe purchase some of the additional ones that author provides. So the author's name is actually not on the front cover from what I've seen. It's just right here on the front page, the cover page. It's Lynne Gibbs, and the book is illustrated by Christine Nason. Now that's another cool thing about this nonfiction book. You would expect there to be photographs, right, instead of illustrations for a nonfiction book, but this book's still going to teach us about horses nonetheless. The illustrator and the author just decided to use drawings instead of illustrations. So let's get started. This first page says, the points of a horse. Each part of the horse has a different name, called a point. The points shown here are some of the most important parts of a horse. So we've got the forelock, the poll, the mane, the withers, the back, the croup or the rump, the booty, the tail, the gaskin, the hock, the fetlock, the heel, the hoof, the coronet, chestnuts, the flank, the elbow, which I did not know horses had elbows. That's really cool. Another chestnut, the pastern, the cannon bone, the knee, the forearm, the chest, the shoulder, the cheek, and the muzzle. Now, to measure a horse. Horses are measured in hands. One hand is equal to about 4 inches. A horse's height is measured from the withers, or the shoulder, to the ground. A pony is a horse that measures under 13 hands. And over here it says chestnuts. A horse has a chestnut on each leg. Remember, those are those little bits right there. These growths of skin resembling a chestnut are unique, like a human being's fingerprints. They can identify a horse. So just like my fingerprint right here can identify me to other people who look super closely, like under a microscope to see my fingerprints, you can do that with a horse and identify which horse is which. Jobs around a horse stable. So there are many jobs to do around a horse stable. Horses need to be washed and groomed. The stalls and fenced-in areas should be cleaned every day. It is important to keep the stables, grounds, and horses in good condition. Looks like they've got some good muck boots on. They're sweeping, carrying that hay. Very cool. Grooming. So these are the different things that are used to groom a horse, or used to clean the tool that they use to clean the horse. So there's a hoof pick, a finishing brush, a curry comb, a rubber curry comb, grooming brush, scrub brush, finishing cloth, and sponges. Now it says, here are some tools used for grooming. Stabled horses should be groomed every day. Grooming helps prevent disease, so it helps them from getting sick. It also helps a horse's coat, or helps keep a horse's coat clean and shiny. And then over here it says horses in the pasture. A finishing brush should never be used over the whole body of a horse kept in the pasture. There should be some grease left in the coat to help keep the rain out. A grooming brush or rubber curry comb should be used instead to remove dried mud and dirt. So let's read about some of these different tools. So a hoof pick is used to clean dirt and stones from the horse's feet, working downward from the heel toward the toe. A grooming brush is used to remove dried mud, dirt, and dust from the horse's coat. A curry comb is used to clean out the finishing brush, which is this piece right here, this tool, and this removes dust and dandruff from the coat, mane, and tail. But like the caption over here said, or this information over here said, this shouldn't be used on the whole horse. The rubber curry comb is another grooming tool used to remove dried mud from a horse's coat. The scrub brush is it can be dampened to get a little bit wet, is used on the horse's mane, tail, and feet. It can also be used to remove stable stains. Finishing cloth adds a final polish after the grooming, and sponges are needed to clean a horse's eye and muzzle and the dock area. So there are lots of different tools that you use to keep that horse clean. That's a big job. Getting ready to ride. These children are preparing to ride their horses. They put on and adjust their saddles, bridles, and bits before they ride. Both the horse and the rider must be comfortable and safe. So maybe that's where my riding bareback comes into play. It's not the safest thing to do for the horse or for you. Saddles and stirrups. Different types of saddles are used for a variety of equestrian or horse riding sports, including racing, show jumping, dressage, and polo. So first we have the all-purpose saddle. The all-purpose saddle can be used for most equestrian activities such as pleasure riding, hunting, and jumping. In the different parts you've got the cantle, skirt, and the pommel, the saddle flap, and the saddle pad right here, that white part. Underneath you've got the knee roll, the saddle flap, the girth straps, and the panel. So right here we've got the saddle pad, which we saw in white over here. In addition to keeping the saddle clean, saddle pads are often used under the saddle to give extra comfort to the rider and the horse's back. The girth. Usually made of leather, nylon, or human-made fiber, a girth is placed under the horse's belly and holds the saddle in place. Stirrups. These are safety stirrups, and these are regular stirrups. Stirrups hang from the saddle and support a rider's feet. Stirrups should be made of stainless steel. Safety stirrups help prevent a rider's foot from becoming tangled in the stirrup should the rider fall from the horse. Horse riding equipment. These children are wearing the proper horse riding equipment while they ride their horses. Proper equipment is used for both comfort and safety. Helmets protect the head from falls, and reflective vests notify drivers if the horse is ridden on the road. These saddles and helmets are used for riding English style. The other style of riding is Western, where broad-brimmed hats are worn and saddles are longer. Bridles and bits. A bridle supports the bits in the horse's mouth. The reins are attached to the bit and give the rider some control over the horse's speed. So here's our bridle. A bridle is made up of several pieces: the head piece, the cheek pieces, brow band, the nose band, and a selected bit. Types of bridles. There are several types of bridles. The snaffle bridle and the double bridle are the most common. So right here we've got the snaffle bridle. It's the simplest and most widely used. It has a single rein and either a jointed or a straight bit. And then a double bridle is used mainly for showing the horse, that is. It has two bits, each with separate reins. So, nose bands. There are several types of nose bands. Which one to use depends on the habits of the horse. So, the standard nose band is the cabeçon, maybe. The drop nose band is used on horses that tend to pull and need to close their lower jaws. So we've got the cabeçon and the bits down here. But the cabeçon, there's the grackle, and then there's the drop. So bits. The bit is attached to the bridle and rests on the horse's tongue. A bit is controlled by the reins and helps to position the horse's head and control its pace and direction. So this is called an egg butt snaffle, curb and bridoon, pelham, kimblewick. Types of bits. Different bits are used depending on whether the horse is strong in the mouth or which equestrian discipline you are competing in. For example, a snaffle is used on horses with a soft mouth. A horse stable. So this is an overview of a horse stable. Equipment, food, and storage areas are identified by name. We've got the tack room, the manger. My goodness. The manger, bedding storage, hay storage, the water point, the gate, drainage, and the muck heap. Stables and fields. So stable areas vary in design according to their use and the number of horses being stabled. But there are some general rules that apply to all stables and fields. For example, manure. Stables should be cleaned out or mucked every day, and the manure should be kept away from the area. Fields. The fields where horses roam and graze must be free of poisonous plants. Fields should be checked every day for broken fencing, rabbit or groundhog holes, and trash. Run-in shed. The run-in shed is an open siding building in the field where horses go to rest. During the summer, it gives shelter from the heat, rain, and flies, and in winter, it provides shelter from the cold and snow. The feed bucket. There is a variety of feed buckets, including fixed corner buckets, portable buckets that fit on the door, or buckets that sit on the ground. The trough. The water trough should always be filled with fresh, clean drinking water for the horses. The tack room. Hay storage. Stable. So hay storage, horses like to eat a good quality of hay. The amount of hay fed depends on the size of the horse and the amount of exercise it gets. Hay needs to be stored in a dry area so it does not become moldy. Tack room. All the equipment needed to ride a horse, such as saddles and bridles, are stored in a tack room. And a stable. A horse's stable is its bedroom, a warm, snug place for the horse to sleep and relax. It should be kept clean and dry with fresh bedding. Horse jumping. So it says, after young riders have experienced riding, they can begin jumping with their horses. When jumping, it is important to have the necessary horse riding equipment and to have an adult nearby. Jumping. Show jumping is one of the most popular equestrian sports. Inexperienced riders start by learning to jump over very low obstacles. So trotting poles and cross poles. Riders first learn to trot and canter over poles on the ground. They can then advance to small cross poles. Uprights and spreads. Once they have mastered cross poles, young riders can advance to upright and spread fences. As riders become more experienced, the fences become more difficult. So you've got the triple bar, which is a spread fence with 3 sets of poles built in a stair-step pattern with the highest pole at the back. You've got parallel bars, and the parallel bar is one of the most difficult fences to jump. It can be made of poles or planks. The water jump. As its name implies, the water jump in a show jumping event has a sunken trough of water. A smaller, narrower water tray is used when a fence is included in the obstacle. It almost reminds me of like mini golfing. There are obstacles that you have to manage to get through. And that was the end of the book. And we've got our text feature here. That glossary tells us what tricky words mean. And then now for the moment we have all been waiting for, this poster, pull-out poster. Mrs. Heinhorst doesn't break it first. This is cool. Let's see if I can kind of pull this up so you guys can see it better. Ow. Okay, let's take a look at this. Wow, a word about horses. So it's just a bigger, almost kind of reminds me of the front cover a little bit, but it gives us all those different tools we use to groom, and then the labels, different illustrations of horses. So that was a really cool book. If you watched this video and you learned more about horses, I want you guys to tell me what you learned, and then I will write that down on our new information to us side. There were lots of different things that I didn't know that I learned. In another video tomorrow, we will go ahead and talk about those, but let's see if you can send me on some of the things that you learned. Thanks for tuning in.